Hey everyone, it's Blue Lizard Jello, and welcome back to Blue Plays Scholar of the First Sin. What a journey. What an absolute journey it has been to get here. So, for those of you who are not aware, or maybe haven't watched my update video, let me just give you a quick summary of where I've been, why this series took such a long hiatus. What has it been, almost 6 weeks? Well, I had to drive across country for a road trip due to work, and then I had to move apartments all within a couple of weeks, and then my PC decided to stop working. Yeah, all in just a matter of just a few short weeks, and that's where I've been. And it is, as I said, it's been a journey. Not exactly the most exciting time of my life, but I'm back, and that's the most important part. Something to make note of in this episode, unfortunately, this is going to be a post-commentary episode. I know, you don't like it, I don't like it. We're just going to have to get through it together until I can get back on my feet with live commentary in the very next episode. The reason this is post-commentary is back when my computer was giving me troubles, I had to figure out what was wrong with it and get it up and running, and that included formatting my hard drives, reinstalling Windows, getting rid of anything and everything that possibly could have been causing the trouble. And that involved me getting rid of everything on the hard drive, as formatting will do, and I was intelligent enough and had the forethought to grab whatever footage I had already recorded for Dark Souls 2. Unfortunately, I did not remember to actually take the audio that I had recorded, the live audio. I grabbed the Audacity project file, completely not thinking that all that is a kind of a temporary file that saves your project settings and the edits that you made to the audio, but it doesn't save the audio itself. So long story short, this is going to be post-commentary. I'm going to do my best to make it interesting, comment on some of the things that are happening in the video. There might be a couple of lulls just because I might run out of things to say. It's been a very long day and very long period of my life, but thank you guys so much for sticking with me. Thank you guys so much for the support. The messages and the comments that I was getting on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, even Steam for some of you who have me on Steam, even in my absence, has just been incredible, and you all are really the reason that I'm here, and that I continue to come back and do this project that I love, which is running this channel. So thank you for being part of the community. Thank you for the support. But anyway, let's move on to Dark Souls 2. This was recorded back before everything kind of went to heck in a handbasket. Sorry for the harsh heck language. And frankly, I don't really remember everything that happened. I do remember that this is actually the second attempt I had at recording this. So luckily I did have a save backup and I could go back and replay it. There was some issue with the game itself. There was some issue with the recording. I don't know if that's when the actual computer issue started or not, but this was attempt number 2. And here you can see I'm using the cask runners to go to the weak parts in the wall and then blowing them up so we can get some of the hidden treasure. There are a few of these walls, and if you pay attention, you can see exactly where they are. These Minotaur helms on the track, kind of a cool feature. If you hit them, you can punch them, hit them with a weapon, do a shield bash like I just did. They will go along the track, and you can use these with the cask runners to open up these secret areas. And you can identify the secret areas. If you look carefully, you can see, there we go. There were some cracks in that wall just before you ran into the flames like an idiot. Keep in mind, there are some fume sorceresses you're going to want to deal with before you actually try to open up the walls, but they shouldn't be too much of a problem. Here's a couple more pieces of the Katarina or the Onion Bro set. So in this episode, we are going to be exploring a good portion of Broom Tower, but also some external areas as well as the Iron Passage. The Iron Passage being the challenge area that this particular DLC has introduced, which culminates in a fight with Blue Smelter Demon, or the Smelter Demon 2.0, or the Spawn of Satan. Whatever nickname you've chosen to use, I kind of like to use the bane of my existence, personally. It's a boss that I tend to have a lot of trouble with, and the reason that I have trouble with is because I've actually become fairly proficient at fighting Smelter Demon 1.0, the one that you fight in the Iron Keep. And this enemy has the same sort of attacks, actually the same moveset identically, except the magic that he's doing is magic-based instead of fire-based, and the timing of the attacks is just slightly off. And when I say slightly, I mean some of the attacks are only a few frames different. But if you've been able to become very good at fighting the regular Smelter Demon, and then you go to fight the Blue Smelter Demon, you might find that your dodges are not quite up to par because those few frames difference are making all the difference in the world, and you're finding yourself getting hit a lot more. Anyway, more on the blue smelter demon once we get there. Some comments about this guy right here, this Iron Warrior. They are a pretty unique enemy, just not only with their size, but also with what they can drop. So they can drop their weapon, which is the Smelter Hammer. They can also drop a helm for you, which is called the Minotaur Helm. However, the Minotaur Helm is not actually their helm. You can see that they don't have anything resembling a Minotaur on their head. Where they do have something resembling a Minotaur is actually on their pauldrons, on their shoulder piece. And that is what's spewing out the lava as you try to circle strafe around. But once you kill them and you get that drop, you actually don't get that as pauldrons, and you don't get their regular helm. You get their pauldron adornment as a helm. No, it doesn't breathe fire. No, it doesn't spew lava. Sorry to say. We're coming out here because there's a very important item in this tower that we need to get in order to access the rest of Room Tower, and that is the Iron Scepter, or I think it's called the Scorching Iron Scepter. And speaking of scorching or scorchers, that's what this enemy right here is called, the Scorcher. They crawl around the ground because they don't have any legs, and once you do a certain amount of damage or a percent of damage, they will actually immolate themselves and they will become engulfed in flames, and they can also self-destruct like that. And when they are on fire, they have a much higher tendency to self-destruct, which you can use to your advantage. You just want to stay kind of close to them, get them to stand upright, and then they'll explode. But you can catch them on fire yourself. You can use fire bombs, you can use fire resins, or charcoal pine resin, not fire resins. You can use anything that produces a flame like a pyro glove in order to set them ablaze, and then they'll explode a lot easier. And when you find them in groups, it can be a really effective way of killing them. Because once they explode and there's another one nearby, unfortunately that one didn't do it, they will catch the others on fire as well. There we go, there's a good example. And another note about the Scorchers, they have a few things they can drop, but most importantly, they can actually drop bonfire ascetics. It's fairly uncommon, but as far as collecting and farming bonfire ascetics, this is one of the only enemies in the game that can do so. The other ones being enemies within the Pilgrim of Dark chaos areas, or the chaos areas, the abyss areas, excuse me. The others being if you invade as a member of the Pilgrim of Dark, someone who is in the Pilgrim of Dark, and you win, then you get a bonfire ascetic. But this is actually a fairly easy way to farm them, just you want to bump up some of your farming gear in order to get there. So you can see we've just been invaded by Quick Sword Rachel. We're going to go down and deal with her. We'll check out that secret area in just a moment, because it is one of the best secret areas in all of Dark Souls 2. And you can see right away, she just went ahead and buffed her Bastard Sword. She can use, I believe, every resin in the game. Maybe not the Rotten Pine resin, I'm not sure. Someone can confirm or deny that. But she is a pretty tough opponent. You can see she is actually capable of doing guard breaks. She can get backstabs on you. I believe that she can parry. And she also has some decent poise. And she has decent poise because she's wearing the Elan Knight helm. She's wearing the Old Knight armor set. And she also has the Drangleic shield. She has this strange amalgamation of equipment here. But she's a pretty fun fight, and you can actually set these sconces ablaze with fire bombs or with any sort of fire spout that you have, and you can get her to walk in, which is extremely helpful at times. And you can just see that damage that she can put out with a buffed weapon. It is brutal. But it's also brutal just to watch her just walk into the fire over and over, and, well, that's a strategy that I'll use, so why not? And there we go. And she is no more. And just for fun, lighting the rest of these sconces, there's nothing to be gained from doing so. So, do it, don't do it, it's up to you. Why am I doing this? 6 weeks ago, me, why are you doing this? Anyway, time to get this all-important item that is hidden in this little alcove. You can see there's a Scorcher in there. But in order to get there, go to the top. I like to equip the Silver Cat ring just in case I miss and I fall down. I don't take any fall damage, or at least I take very minimal. But you can walk, you can roll, just don't try jumping. And there we go. Now in here, this is very tight quarters, so if this guy is actually going to explode and you're nearby, get your shield up in time, or just be prepared to take a lot of damage. But if you can get here, kill him, you are rewarded. Get ready for this. A single dried root. Moving right along. You can see we have a number of doors here. Many of them just connect to the same hallway, and only one actually has anything of value other than the way down. So we'll go ahead and take them out, or take out the enemies one by one, and I'll show you what's behind all the doors. Here's a couple of items for us, but you can hear that kind of rock rattling noise. Anytime you hear that, that means that there's a fume sorceress nearby. And this fume sorcerer, I guess sorcerer, they are male, because they're actually wearing the male version of their armor, which I should probably say correctly. So fume sorcerer, not sorceress, they can drop their armor set. They can drop an umbral dagger, which is a purely dex dagger. I think it actually starts with an S scaling in dexterity. Really good for backstabs. That's about it. All the other damage is pathetic. They also drop a blue dagger, which is somewhat similar. Actually, it's very similar, although weaker than the crisp blade that you can get in Demon Souls. When you hold it in your offhand, the blue dagger will increase all of your spell damage by 5%. However, and I say however a lot, I've noticed that, and it's been pointed out to me, so I'll just say but. Sometimes I'd like to say however because I think but sounds so pedestrian, so common, I don't know. Anyway, but it lowers your fire, your magic, your dark, and your lightning resistances by 200. So 5% gain in magic damage, 200 resistance less in those 4 attributes. You know, give and take, you have to make the decision whether or not it's good for you. 5% ultimately ends up not being a whole lot of damage. You can see here the range on the explosion's not as big as the explosion would actually have you believe. So back up just a little bit. I put my shield up just in case. Turns out I didn't even need it. Descending deeper into this tower, we do have some more scorchers, not sorcerers, scorchers to deal with. But they are behind this iron door. And you can see that we have this almost iron furnace looking thing straight ahead with something sticking out of it. That is the key that we're looking for. This room, it's not difficult if you get out of there in time, but if you decide to try to fight the enemies in there and you get surrounded and they all decide to detonate at the same time, you're gonna have a bad day. I like to use this as a choke point. Lead them out 1 or 2 at a time and get themselves caught on fire, use them to explode and kill each other. Easiest way in my book. Of course, sometimes they will just feign the explosion. You have to stay kind of close to them while they're charging up in order to get them to actually explode. They typically won't explode if you're not nearby. Also, probably fairly obvious and probably something you've already seen happen to me, when they are on fire like this, you will take some proximity flame damage when you're too close. But I think that's the last of them. It is. So now we can go up here, interact with this item, and we can get the Scorching Iron Scepter, which acts as a key item. You can see the symbol there on the screen. I really wish this was a weapon, and I don't understand. Look at this stair. This single stair just gave me so many problems. I wish it was a weapon. Even though it is just a scepter, it's basically just a small, short pole item. I wish we could use it as a weapon, kind of like the key to the embedded. I think it'd be fun to run around with just this short pole with flames just spewing all over it. I don't know. It'd be like a fire mace, but without a blunt end. It would just be a round pole. Am I alone here? Did anyone else pick that up thinking that they could use it? No? Just me? Maybe my mom? I don't know. Call the elevator down. We have another Scorcher waiting for us. No big deal. Look at that. 3 hits and you're done, son. And we activate the elevator at the same time. That was just efficient. Screw is just rolling around my desk right now. I wonder what that screw is toward. Probably something's going to fall apart at some point because that screw should be in something and not on my desk. Very convenient way down, and now we can head back into Broom Tower, and we can use the Scorching Iron Scepter, which is going to give us access to a much larger portion of Broom Tower. And that area over there, unfortunately, we have to go to. We have to go to because there's an item in there that we need to get if we want to access everything. The reason I say unfortunately is because that area, that outside area, is brutal. Brutal. That's right, I added a syllable to brutal to indicate just how brutal it is. More dried roots, thank God. And now we can open up this shortcut. So if we ever had to go back there for any reason, which I can't imagine you would, you can now go right from the bonfire straight ahead. Very cool. Just taking a breather, I guess. Blue, get up. Blue, hey, buddy. How long did I sit here? This really should have been cut. There it is. Hey, alright. I probably had something really important to say in my live commentary. Probably just something that would have absolutely blown your minds and just broken open the doors of philosophy and worldviews and just super string theory. I don't know. Anyway, using the Scorching Iron Scepter right in the center, you light the center of the tower, which sets everything else into motion, so a lot of elevators are now activated for us. There are a number of passageways, a number of items we can now get because that we just activated the actual broom tower. But we have a couple of very specific areas in mind. Also, if you actually take a look at the elevators, underneath the platforms, it looks to be, I believe that they are Iron Warriors. At least that's what they look like to me. You can see that we just had that locked door. Well, like I said, we have to go out to that brutal outdoor area. First, we have to get past all these cask runners, which really isn't that bad. Especially if you have a few firebombs in your possession. Oh, the damage. Alright, thank you for that. And one more. Now right away, the corpses that are just covered in ash should give you some idea of what might happen. But we have an Iron Warrior right here to deal with. And if he was alone, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But I fight him very close to this door because he is not alone. And I'm not talking about the cask runner in the background. I mean, there are two more Iron Warriors that you need to deal with before you can actually get the item, at least get the item safely. You don't have to kill them technically. You can sprint out there, get it, and come back. But where's the fun in that? Not to mention, there are a few items that are hidden in the ashen corpses here, and if you want to get them, it's going to be a lot easier if you completely clear the area. Top off the health there. Wow, I used a bright bug, huh? That's kind of news to me. I guess that's not a terrible idea. Using the bright bug gives you extra defense, extra offense. It's going to make killing these guys just a little bit faster, presumably. You can see I'm still not very comfortable at using a shield. I know that that's the build I'm trying to go for, especially using the Great Shield a few of you had requested, and I still find myself dodging. Even though I'm dodging pretty slowly due to how much weight that I have on. Anyway, I'll try to do better. Maybe. Got some charcoal pine resin, some twinkling titanites, and walk over all these corpses to make sure you find all the hidden loot. A couple more human effigies there. And you can see that point out there, there's a shiny, that's the key that we're trying to get, the tower key. But right before you get there, you get this lovely Iron Warrior, this time not wielding the smelter hammer, using a giant mace. Now you cannot get that mace. It's similar to the one that you can get just the regular mace, just really big. Also, I just noticed, does he have different pauldrons on? Does he actually not have the Minotaur on the pauldrons? I'll have to go back and watch that. I'm not sure if he did. It almost looked like a cow skull, like you would see in an old Western. Because they're apparently always out in the desert, just cow skulls everywhere. There's a hidden item, large soul of a nameless soldier. But now we're done here. Thankfully, the Iron Warriors died. We did not. Got the tower key, and now we can explore a bit more. And unfortunately, we can go explore the Iron Passage, which I would rather not do, truth be told. But for completionist's sake, we're going to be doing it. Speaking of completionist's sake, a few of you pointed out, and it's something that I realized only after I came here, I'm not going to be able to complete the Crown of the Old Ivory King DLC. I'm not going to be able to kill all of the bosses because I don't have the Ashen Mist Heart yet from the Ancient Dragon. because the last portion of this area in the last boss, which is Sir Alon, takes place in a memory, until you have the Ashen Mist Heart, it is going to be off limits. So we're going to be coming back here to complete it. I will kill the Smelter Demon, I'll kill the Fume Knight or Raimi. We'll explore what we can, and then after we've gotten to the Ancient Dragon, we're going to do a dedicated episode to the memories. So we'll take on the 3 Giants memories, we'll go to the Ancient Dragon memory, and we'll come here and we'll finish off Sir Alon. That should all be able to be done in a single episode. The memories aren't huge areas. But we continue to descend. You can see we're getting very low down in the tower. And now we're looking for the Iron Passage. You can see just how far this area goes down. And the area directly across from us is where you would go to fight Raimi, or the Fume Knight. I don't know if it's Raim or Raimi. I say Raimi because there's an E, and I don't know, I've never actually heard it pronounced. But here's the Iron Passage. This is considered to be the challenge area in this DLC. And as I mentioned in the last episode, if you put your summon sign at the very beginning where all the gravestones are, your summon sign will actually appear here in this room. Now these are NPC summons. This is Steel-Willed Lori and Drifter Swordsman Idel. Drifter Swordsman, by the way, uses a twin blade. Doesn't even use a sword. I guess it's kind of like 2 swords put together and you spin it around. Anyway, if you want to summon these NPCs, go for it, but understand that they are going to be more of a distraction and a tank for you than a damage dealer. They don't seem to have the stats that they need to actually use their weapons. Steel-Willed Lori uses the Mastodon Greatsword and the Stone Twin Blade used by Idel, but the damage they put out is terrible. I mean, it is atrocious. So if you want to use them to get the enemy's attentions, fine, great, go for it. Just expect to be killing everything yourself. Now with this area, you have to do it a few times if you want to get all of the loot. So these cages right here, as well as the gate at the end, are activated by a lever. That lever will open up all the cages, open up the gate. It will also cause the Flame Salamander to begin shooting fireballs at you. And this gate right here is on a timer, which means that if you're not fast enough, that gate is going to slam shut, and you can't access it again until you've rested at a bonfire or you've reset the area, maybe quit the game, gone elsewhere. But you only have one shot at this. So I'm going to first kill these enemies and get the loot and not worry about going forward. In fact, you're not going to see me go through that gate until the next episode. A lot of these Ashen Warriors to deal with. And I deal with them oh so poorly. Huh. Oh, I died. Oh, I didn't realize I died there. I'm going to be honest. That's news to me. Whoops. Well, learn something new every day. I completely forgot that I had died there. The Iron Passage is one of my least favorite areas. I think that it's a challenge area only in the sense that you're fighting a lot of enemies in typically small spaces, especially confined hallways. And I find that the challenge areas, and I know I've harped on this again and again, so I don't want to spend too much time. The challenge areas in the 3 DLCs, so the Frigid Outskirts, the Iron Passage, and the Cave of the Dead, and the Crown of the Sunken King, they're actually my 3 least favorite areas in the entire game. I just think that the challenge is somewhat arbitrary, somewhat artificial. It's kind of just, let's throw as many enemies as we can and see if you survive type deal. It's not bad in co-op. None of the areas are bad in co-op, but playing solo or trying to use the NPC summons, it can be rough. And the loot in all the areas is actually really underwhelming. Okay, some of you really love the mask at the end of this area, and you'll see when I get it. Me, I've never been a big Giant Dad fan. Guess that's kind of a spoiler as to what I'm going to pick up. But most of the loot's kind of I mean, 7 large Titanite shards, I guess those are good, but by now, you probably have enough souls to buy them from any of the blacksmiths, so really not that necessary. So you see that I'm now going down on this left-hand path, and at this point, we can no longer go back up. We can no longer get past that gate to get to the Flame Salamander statue, and instead, we have to deal with a number of enemies. We have Ashen Warriors, you have Fume Sorcerers, you have Possessed Armor, you have an Iron Warrior at the end, and you have a new enemy called the Astrologist. The Astrologist, damage-wise, not necessarily that terrible. but as a supporter of the other enemies in the area, he is kind of awful. And you'll see that in just a bit when we get to him. Because of the number of enemies, I will lure as many of them into a bottleneck and into an area beyond the reach of the sorcerers and the astrologists as I can. Preferably one at a time if I can. Really good damage on the backstab. And here is the astrologist, and you can see, and you probably just heard, that he just cast a spell that's causing me to go very slow, and if I try to roll, it's going to be very clumsy. He cast the Promised Walk of Peace, which is like the Tranquil Walk of Peace, although it has a much wider berth for this spell. But he also can cast Great Lightning Spear, Blinding Bolt, Heavenly Thunder, Profound Still, so you can't cast spells. He himself is pretty weak. It's just if you let him actually get that Promised Walk of Peace off, which he typically will because he'll do it from across the map for crying out loud, then it can be very dangerous. And if you cast that spell and you're surrounded by the Ashen Warriors, you're in for a bad time. That Fume Sorcerer is typically not going to come down, so I tend to avoid him unless I'm actually going for the items up there, which I'll show you how to get in the next video. But for now, we're just going to focus on getting to the boss here. Hopping down yet again, so preventing any backwards progress. I guess backwards progress would be regression. Maybe I'll just say going backwards. This next room, we have Possessed Armor, Ashen Warrior. You see the Astrologist up top. We just killed another Ashen Warrior, and there's one over here. It's just such a busy area. And again, with little payoff, I think that's what kills me, is that there's just not a solid reason for me to go through the challenge areas. In fact, when I play and I'm not recording and I'm not doing a guide like the Everything Possible series, I actually don't go through here. As much of a completionist as I am, I do not complete the challenge areas when I'm playing for fun, because frankly, I don't have a whole lot of fun in them. But let me know what you guys think. Do you like the challenge areas? Do you think that they were well done? Is it something that they could have spent a little bit more time and been more creative with the enemy placements and the design, as opposed to just kind of grabbing handfuls of enemies and chucking them at you? I guess that was a bit of a slanted question. Oh, post-commentary. You are a weird one. Look at me using a shield, though. Hey, right now I'm proud of 6-week previous blue. Now, what? Was that Profound Still? I don't think he just healed, did he? I honestly missed that, guys. You tell me, what spell was that? I don't use enough spells to recognize them all by sight. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, I died there. Yep. There's that Heavenly Thunder. Well, at least this time I will know to cut right before my souls instead of actually showing you that entire run through. Speaking of running through, if you've ever watched a speed run, you can see that this area, this run can kill a lot of speed runs because it's extremely tough to just run through and avoid all the enemies. There are too many enemies in the way. There's too many things that can halt your progress, like the arrow from the Possessed Armor or the Promised Walk of Peace from the Astrologist. It's just a very tough area to speed run. I tend to not try to run to the end, and the reason is I end up dying a lot more if I try that than if I actually take the enemies on one or two at a time. You can see that arrow just coming out of nowhere from the Possessed Armor. I use the throwing knife to get the attention of this Ashen Warrior because now, with him dead, I should theoretically be able to run past whatever is remaining. And there is the Promised Walk of Peace. Oof, brutal. Luckily, I was able to roll that time. Took a hit on the way down. I am in the last room now. I'm in the last room, so this is the only area that separates me from Blue Smelter. Now, you might be taking a look at the timing of the video and thinking, wait a second. I'm not so sure there's enough time left for him to make it through this room and to fight Blue Smelter Demon. And you're right. I'm going to spoil it for you. Blue Smelter Demon is not present in this video. Sorry. I just couldn't make it work time-wise. I didn't want to go too long. Not to mention, I don't exactly get this blue smelter on my first try, or my second. I'm not even so sure I get him on my third. In fact, I haven't killed him yet. So when you see me successfully kill the blue smelter demon, it is going to be the first recording and the first live recording since my very long hiatus. So look forward to that. Speaking of which, the series should be continuing as it was previously, shooting for daily, every other day at worst, hopefully, unless something catastrophic goes wrong. Knock on wood, fingers crossed. Do whatever you need to do to make sure that nothing goes wrong. But from here, I'm not even going to deal with this this Iron Warrior. I'm not dealing with possessed armor. We're sprinting to the boss, but that's actually going to wrap up the video. You're going to see me walk into the boss arena and call it quits there. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, gripes, or insults, make sure you let me know. It is so good to be back. It's so good to be hanging out with you guys again. Thank you guys for standing by, and I'll see you next time.